بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي أنزل علينا الكتاب المبين وهدانا إلى صراطه المستقيم، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد النبي الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد أقحم علم المنطق في أصول الفقه والكلام وسائر علومنا اللغوية والاجتماعية والدينية بعد القرن الرابع الهجري، ويصعب فهم كتب المتأخرين في تلك المجالات بدون الاطلاع على مبادئ المنطق، فوضعت هذه المقدمة في التعريف بها للطلاب مرحلة العالمية في لغة سهلة وأسلوب ميسر وبيان أمثلة تقربوها إليهم تقريبا، وأدعو الله تعالى أن يعم به النفع. آمين. So this is a short, concise book on major concepts used in the logic. But before that, I just summarize actually what exactly logic is. So I myself studied in madrasa in India, and logic and philosophy is one of the important part of the curriculum. Actually, in India, since 15th century or 10th century of Hijrah, logic and philosophy became most dominant in the madrasa, in the curriculum. Before that, there was logic and philosophy, but it was not so dominant. Until actually time came when majority of the books taught in the madrasa, they belong to the philosophy and logic. So I studied actually in the same madrasa, where the logic was very important, philosophy was very important. Then I came to another ulama. Also, there was logic and philosophy. I had one teacher actually from Deoband. He was very good at logic and philosophy. I learned from him. Then I learned from my teacher, Mabadi Nadwi. In Nadwa, he was expert of logic and philosophy. He used to teach without any book, all in his mind. Great expert, both sciences. And then because I had my own interest, so I studied many other books as well, which are not taught in madrasa, but I was interested in the logic and philosophy and kept learning until I got the book of Ibn Taymiyyah, al-Mantiq, about which maybe I talk at the end of the session, inshallah, if I have time, which really was very new way to look at logic and philosophy. The way I describe it, what he did really. Because before that in India, everybody respected when Shibli wrote his books, and Mullah Sulaiman Nadwi, they all from same madrasa, the logic philosophy. The first book of Ibn Taymiyyah, which Shibli became influenced, was al-Mantiq. So that's very important. To me, when I read the only example came to my mind is, in the temple of Iraq, where Ibrahim alayhi salam went there, he smashed all the idols. So basically, like Ibn Taymiyyah smashed all the idols of logic and philosophy. It basically demolished the whole building. It is not very easy to understand, but once you understand the logic and philosophy, then read his book, then it will be clear to you what he has done. And some examples from me, it will help you to understand it. So anyway, my interests always have been logic and philosophy. And then when I came to this country in 91, I started reading books on the modern logic, just to see really what difference is. So I realized like somebody has in mind all the objections and criticism of Ibn Taymiyyah and rewrote logic. So now modern logic is completely different from what Ibn Taymiyyah has criticized, because it's so different. Actually, it is logic which he has no problem with that, which nobody has any problem. But the Greek logic, which has been taught in madrasat for many centuries, that what actually the problem is. And this book is in the same pattern, because this is something which became part of Islamic sciences. Even pure Islamic science, if you study Usul Hadith, Usul al-Fiqh, many concepts you will not understand unless you know Greek logic. Greek logic became part of everything. Not only Aqidah and Kalam, even Usul Hadith, Usul al-Fiqh, Nahu, Sarf, anything people used to write, it always used to follow, the categorization and the, definition of people of logic. So it is important for the students of the Islamic sciences, they must be aware at least of basic concepts used in logic. Without that, you can't understand the books of Usul al-Fiqh, Usul Hadith, and major things in Islamic sciences. It's impossible to understand. Whether you agree or don't agree, but they have used, this thing actually even the books of tafsir, many books of tafsir, they follow the same thing. And especially, Kalam and books of Kalam and Aqidah, they basically are so much influenced by Greek logic and philosophy. Hardly there is any alim who is not influenced by logic and philosophy fashion. Especially after the 400 years of Islam, it becomes so strong in Islamic curriculum. Before coming to the book and main definition, I just summarize to you what exactly logic is. So the word for logic in Arabic is mantiq, and I think this word is a very good word, mantiq. Nataqa yantiqu comes from speaking. When people speak, they speak always not in the order that they think. You always can see when a thought comes to your mind, you develop it, you evolve it, you put in an order, then after you speak. So when you speak about the thought, you don't speak the way they come to your mind. You speak in a different order. You want to influence people. You want to make things clear to the people. So mantiq basically is the end result of your thought process. So when you speak, everybody same thing. Whenever you start understanding something, it is very initial, not very well organized. Then your mind has questions, doubts, problems. You keep researching, keep understanding until you get something clear to your mind. Then you speak out. Then you express it. Mantiq is expression of that thought. So this is very good actually word that Arabs have used for mantiq. They did not say mantiq is al-aql or thinking. They say mantiq is speaking. So the truth really is, many people have misunderstanding. Many people think mantiq is to organize your thoughts. Mantiq helps you to get the truth. This is not true really. Mantiq has nothing to do with the truth. Mantiq only is the presentation of your idea and thoughts. That's all. Mantiq only teaches you how to present. That's why they used to call in the past al-Mantiq suri. Surah. Surah? Form. This Mantiq is not really to teach you how you get true ideas. This is not. But people misunderstand. People think if you learn Mantiq, you know the truth of everything. It gives you the key to find the truth. Mantiq does not do this. Mantiq only helps you how to present your thoughts and ideas. It could be wrong, but it teaches you how to present it. It is basically presentation. It is not how to think. Maybe it can help a little bit, but actually it is presentation. That's why they call it al-Mantiq. In the past, they used to call full name al-Mantiq suri. The suri is from surah, form. The Mantiq is actually that for presentation. So people have exaggerated about Greek logic so much, they think it helps you to find the truth. It is like people think, it is like a grammar, for the language. If you don't have grammar, you can't know how to speak. The same thing, if you don't have logic, you don't know how to think. This is not true really. People always have been thinking. Mantiq is one way how to present your thoughts. One way. People in China, people in India, Arab people before Greeks, they used to discuss. They used to present their thoughts and ideas. So to think really the Greeks this is the only way to present your idea thought. This is wrong. People always have been presenting their thoughts and ideas in every culture, every tradition. Greeks came and they founded this formal methodology, and people now follow, Muslims have been following them, but it does not mean this is the only way. This is one way. So exaggeration has become a when people think this is the only way to present your thoughts and ideas. So first thing keep in mind, though people in logic, they teach you that it helps you how to think, but truth really is, it mostly helps you how to present your thoughts and ideas, presentation. So this one thing I'd like to make clear. Second thing is this logic, Greek logic, what does it discuss? It discusses three things. Three things basically are the main topics that discuss in the Greek logic. The first one is that this is summary. If you understand this summary, it will help you to understand the whole logic. Recently, I wrote an article in Urdu about this, summarizing the Greek logic. So many ulama from India, actually, they wrote to me, they said this is the best summary of logic they have got until now. So I wrote in detail. So I'll just summarize to you. It will help you to, inshallah, to understand what logic is. Logic basically are three parts. Three parts are discussed in logic. That what have been all the time by Aristotle, by the people later on, even modern logic, everybody, they discuss three parts. So as I mentioned, Greek logic has got three parts. The first part is that no concept, though I say you use the word concept, but Greek logic, it makes it more general. Any single thing, anything that comes to your mind without any judgment, concept, or any person, or anything, or house, what anything individual which you don't put. Like for example, I say the house is new, so I pass a judgment. If just I get in my mind a house, that's only what, that's the house, or the table, or the cup, or the pen, or the book, something like that. And even the concept, all the concept, like nahu, sarf, logic itself, i'rab, rafa, nasb, jar, or hadith marfu, sahih hadith, da'if hadith, any concept in the world, in any sciences, chemistry, biology, any sciences, or any individual things without passing judgment. Greek way is you cannot know it unless it is defined. Is it clear? No concept can be known unless it is defined properly. Definition means their own definition, unless it is defined. So they don't limit this definition to concept. They extend the definition to anything. What any individual thing comes to your mind, whatever, like I mentioned, to example of house, or the cup, or the pen, or rafa, nasb, jar, i'rab, nahu, sarf, anything, or in any science, nothing can be known to you unless it is defined. Is it clear? So first major thing is you have to know for everything this word definition. Without definition, you cannot know it. Everything must be defined properly according to the way they have explained. Then you know it. If it's not defined, you don't know. You know maybe part of it, but you don't know things unless they are defined. So this is one important thing they have been discussing. That many discussion in Greek logic is because of this definition part. They want to make a definition right. That whenever you say that for example, you say I know India. So you don't know India unless India is defined. What the boundaries are, what is the east of India, what is west of India, what is in south of India, it must be defined. Otherwise, you don't know it really. Any single i'rab, what is i'rab? You don't know the i'rab by the name. You have to define i'rab, then people know what i'rab is. You don't know what rafa means unless somebody defines to you what a rafa means. You don't know what nasb is unless somebody defines to you what nasb means. But they expanded this more actually, not only the concepts, even things which are not concept. So for example, they will say you don't know table unless table is defined. You don't know human being, al-insan, unless he is defined. You don't know the angel unless angel is defined. You don't know the earth unless it is defined. You don't know sun unless sun is defined. You don't know moon unless it is defined. Every single reality, it must be defined. You don't know unless it is defined. Is it clear? The first major thing discussed in Greek logic is definition. Everything must be defined. And for this purpose, they have got many discussions, no doubt really, to make it very, very clear. They discuss about the words, about the meanings, about this thing and that thing, until you know really how to define the things. So without definition, you can't claim that I know. So whenever you talk about something, first thing they will ask you, define it. And this is important really because sometimes people debate same thing and they have two different ideas in the mind about same thing, two different angles. So first let's agree what we mean by that. Then you dispute and argue. But if I have something else in mind, you have something else in mind, and we're fighting actually for nothing. And everything has more than one angle. So first let's agree really what you think about that thing. So it's important. That's why Greek philosophers always have been giving the example of elephant. An elephant came to a town and all the people are blind and they want to know what elephant is. Somebody touched the leg, somebody touched the head, and somebody touched the trunk, and someone touched the ear, and that writes the definition what an elephant is. Everybody defining elephant according to what they found. And they insist that they fight. So this is the problem for many people in the world, because they get an idea about something and they think they know. And second person has another idea, he thinks he knows. They don't agree on the definition. If they don't agree on the definition, they cannot agree on the details and they will keep fighting. So the first major thing in Greek Logic is definition. That every concept, every single thing must be clearly defined. If you don't know definition, you don't know it. The only way to know something is definition. That's actually very, very clear there. I'll tell you the summary of what they say. Yeah, so this, usually they call it tasawwur basically. This single concept, concept, whatever, they call it tasawwur. Tasawwur is a perception. So if they say, inna tasawwurat la tunalu illa bilhad. At-tasawwurat la tunalu illa bilhad. You cannot perceive something, or you cannot get a concept of anything clear to your mind unless it is defined. So definition in Arabic is had. Had means to make clear boundary. Unless definition known, you don't know it. Second thing is what they discuss is categorization. Every single thing belongs to a category. If you know that major category, then you know really this much more clearly. So this is another problem for the people is when they don't understand the categories of the things or the people clearly. So one has to understand the categories properly, especially in the matter which you're discussing. In that matter, because everything has more than one category. For example, if I want to, divide the people in this, room into categories, I can tell in many categories. For example, people here are two categories, men and women. These two. So people belong to. There are two categories here. Those who are permanent students of Al-Salam, those who just came for this class. Now some men, some women will be together, and some men and women the other one. I can categorize another category that people who are here. Many of them are originally Indian, from Indian subcontinent, and some are not from Indian subcontinent. You see another category. So you can make any category. It depends on what you want to achieve. So it is very important for any discussion that you know the right category. Right category is very, very important to learn. For example, hadith. If people don't understand the categories properly, they always keep making. I'll tell you another example, which I always have to carry. Now people discuss Islamic finance. Inshallah, for this I want to write an article. I've been intending but did not write it properly. People discuss Islamic finance. And one of the things I found really is problem of the categories. They don't get categorization properly. So for example, in Islam, when you come to riba is the major problem in finance. The reason Islam actually has so many problems about economics and this haram halal. One of the major things is riba. Riba are two types of riba in Islam. One is called riba al-jahiliyyah. Riba al-jahiliyyah is the riba which was called riba even before Islam. And when the Quran came, Quran forbade it completely, and it was something ugly in every culture. In every culture, riba always have been bad. Though people deal with it, but it always have been bad. And that riba basically is when you lend money, so you ask for people to pay you with some profit. So that is riba al-jahiliyyah. Then the Prophet ﷺ, because he's so much against riba, he wanted also to, make people to be away from any doubt of the riba. So he said about 6 things that don't sell dates for dates, or gold for gold, silver for silver, and dates for dates, wheat for wheat, barley for barley, and salt for salt. 6 things. Illa mithlam bi mithlin. They should be equal. So 1 kilo gold, my 1 kilo gold, your 1 kilo gold. It could be my 1 kilo gold is more pure than yours. Still, when we transact, exchange, it must be equal. This one is. And if it's not equal, then it's a riba. This riba is not in the Quran. This riba is what? Riba al-Islam. Quran never forbade this riba. This never, actually most hadith, they don't discuss this riba. This riba is, riba, the Prophet introduced, and some fuqaha, Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi and Hanbal, some people even made, extended it with the illah. In Hanafi madhab, there's illah. There are more, not only 16, there are many things become riba because of the illah. They have found. But illah is different in every madhab. Hanafi madhab, their own illah. Maliki people have their own illah. Shafi have their own illah. And Hanbal, his opinion is according to every madhab. Basically, one opinion according to Hanafi madhab, one opinion according to Maliki madhab. So illah differs. Then everything has riba. Some people, Zahiri people, they make riba only to limit to 6 things. Books of the fiqh, when they discuss riba, they only discuss the riba of Islam. But they read the Quranic verse. The people think Quran, that's what Quran discusses. And many problems come in the book of Fiqh and Usul Fiqh, not understanding the category properly. And that is the reason really that people discuss riba in Kitabul Buyu. This is riba reason. Because the second riba, the riba Islam, the Prophet said, La tabi'u, don't sell gold for gold. So people think riba belongs to Kitabul Bay'ah. That in every madhab, Hanafi madhab, Maliki madhab, Shafi madhab, Hanbali madhab, in all the books, whenever they discuss riba in the chapter of Bay'ah. This is the problem of the categorization. They did not realize the categories properly. This is one of the objections I have been making yesterday. And modern Islam, new Islamic finance has same problem of the categorization. The truth really, the real riba, which Quran forbade, which has been haram in every cultural tradition, always ugly, very bad, evil, sucking the blood of the poor people. That riba is not riba al-bay'. It doesn't do with bay. It is riba al-qard. It belongs to chapter of qard. It is lending money. It's nothing to buy. There's no buy there. When you make a buy, it becomes something else. It's nothing to do with buy. That's why Quran said, قَالُوا إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَى. No. Buy and riba, they're two different things. It does not belong to that chapter. Riba Islam belongs to Kitabul Bay'ah. So if you want to discuss the riba properly, discuss riba al-Jahiliyyah, riba of the Quran in Kitabul Qard. And discuss riba that Prophet made riba in Kitabul Bay'ah. Then the people will know what you're discussing. Because one belongs to Qard and one belongs to Bay'. So very often people don't know categories properly. That's how the confusion comes. So second important thing that you learn in logic is to know the categories of the things properly. Which category they belong to. For example, Greek people will say to you, human being, insan. Insan belongs to the category of hayawan, animal. When you have this in mind, then basically you are going to extend to insan all the attributes of hayawan. Then there's no surprise somebody comes and tells people that people have evolved from animal, from monkey. Because they actually always have been believing that anyway, that human being is part of this category. When you have this category, that's what will happen. Categorization is not solid. Categorization is not reality. When you make a category, it is not real. It's not Allah made like that. It's not khalq of Allah. It's not haqiqah. Categories is always what? In mind. Every category is in mind. Nothing to do with reality. So when I said to people in this room are two categories, men and women, it is just in mind. I made this category. I can make another category, third category, fourth category. Could be any category. It all meant mind. It is not external reality. But it is like that. So it depends only how you think. That reveals to the people that how your mind works. So when you think a human being is part of this category, hayawan, then certainly you will make insan one of the hayawan. All attributes. If somebody else comes and he categorizes creation in different categories, creation are this category, that category, he says there are two types of creation. Those creations which are given responsibility and those which are not given responsibility. Those which are not given responsibility, like animals, plants, star, moon, they don't have responsibility. They are no question, nothing. Those creations which have responsibility, they are three: angels, jinnis, human being. You see, now human being belongs to another category, where actually, this I made. So, it's not a logical. Just I'm saying, you can make this category. That creations are two categories. One which has no responsibility and one which has responsibility. Those which were responsible, the three types, one the angels. Angels are responsible creation, but they can't do evil. Jinn are responsible creation. They can do evil, they can do good. Though they're more actually evil. Human being actually also one of the creation which has responsibility. And they know good and bad. And sometimes they do good, sometimes they do bad. Then actually human beings belong to the category of angels and the jinn. It's another category. It depends how you think. So in every science, everything, it must be known very clear that where the categories, what is the category. That actually is, that is important in Nahw and Sarf as well. When we discuss Irab, Rafa, Nasb, Jar, when we discuss Huruf, all these things, people must know the categories. Sometimes people don't know the categories properly. They don't understand the function of the grammar properly. Same thing Hadith. If people don't understand how Hadith works, So people don't know really. Because people think hadith, da'if is part of the hadith, authentic. Sahih, lower than that is, Hasan, and lower than da'if. But still hadith. That you might, like for example, I said to you that, the food are 3 types. Excellent food, energy, health, and this and that, and medium food, not so expensive, and also lower. Sometimes can harm, but still food. If nothing to eat, you can eat. When you have this definition in mind, hadith, sahih, hasan, da'if, then certainly in mind will come, hadith, da'if is still hadith. If you don't sahih, if you don't hasan, it's still hadith, it is better than qiyas. That our mind will have. If people have this category in the mind, hadith, da'if, to then agree one of the hadith, but lower category, like food. If you don't have excellent food, at least lower. Like you go to Tesco, buy value bread. If you don't have any good bread, value bread is still the same thing, same function you can do. So people think hadith, da'if is still hadith. That's what they think, because that's how they look category. If they had understood the categories properly, they would have known hadith, da'if means it's not hadith. But they never learned categories properly. Categories have been different categories. Categories always creates a problem in the world. Always really. Which category people belong to? If you can divide the people in India, for example, 2 nations, Hindus and non-Hindus, and now see, they're fighting. But Indian people can have more than one division. Secular people and non-secular people. There's another division. If you say secular people, then it includes many Muslims and many Hindus. They will live together. Non-secular, many Muslims, many Hindus. You can divide it in this way. It depends how you categorize the people. If you bring this categorization, it will completely change everything. Different thing. But if you make a category, no, Muslims come out of we are Muslims. And, non-Muslims are different people. So you create a new idea in India, different. Then your enemies will be different. But when you make secular and non-secular people, then your enemies are different. People who are with you, they are different people. You make a different. It depends really how you categorize the people. So categories are very, very important really. Because of categories, many problems happen in hadith, in tafsir, in the fiqh, in the grammar, many of these things. Many mistakes I discovered really in all these sciences because people did not follow right categorization. Same human being in anything. So I really think insan does not belong to animal category. Insan belongs to another category, which we missed. So categorization of the things are very, very important. So second thing that Greek logic discusses is the categorization. That every single thing, whenever you discuss any science, look really, like first chapter, you're writing a PhD thesis. So you have got, this important central idea that you want to explore. Central, you basically have got. That central idea has got many, many parts. And then you make section parts. It is very important really to understand really that how divide it. That chapters, sections, how divide. Which chapter belongs to which section. It is very important to understand. And many people fail to understand this. That's why their thesis or their writing, their books actually are not very good. Because they don't know. If chapter which belongs to another section, they put somewhere else. They don't understand how to put it. And when you do mistake in categorization, your arguments become weak. Sometimes becomes so silly. Reason is because you did not know the categories properly. This happens to the Quran. When people read the Quran, they don't understand the categories of the Quran properly. Because people look in the Quran from the angle of faqih. When fuqaha came, they made this chapter, Kitab al-Tahara, Kitab al-Salah, and in Kitab al-Tahara, this thing, purity and impurity. And then in impurity, they said there are 2 types of impurity, najasa and hadath. Najasa is impurity that you see, and hadath is impurity hukmi, which you can just understand, like when people don't have wudu, or people have to have a ghusl. So then hadath became 2 hadath. Al-hadath al-asghar, al-hadath al-akbar. Hadath asghar is when you have to do wudu, and al-hadath al-akbar is when you have to do ghusl. Now when you make this category, tell me what will happen. What are the impurity for which you need to have ghusl? Tell me. What are categories? Janaba, hayd and nifas. Then women's all impurity became in this. Since in Janaba, you cannot read Quran. Now when women are in hayd and nifas, they can't read the Quran because it's this category. You made this category al-hadath al-akbar. And al-hadath al-akbar means Janaba, hayd and nifas. In Janaba, people can't read the Quran. So hadath belongs to the hayd belongs to the same category. They can't read the Quran. Nifas belongs to the same category. They can't read. it is all from the categorization. There's no proof on the face of the earth that women in Hayd cannot read the Quran. The only proof is your, this artificial categorization. You put women in this category. That's all. You made this category, and because of one reason, one similarity. Similarity is because they have to have bath. That's all. There are so many things between Hayd and Janaba, not similar. They're so different things. But because of one similar, because this is how you put it. You take simply that what makes people to do one category. What makes people to do ghusl, one category. And then all the ruling you extend that it all from the categorization. This is the thing I have seen really in the grammar, in the Usul Hadith, in the Usul Fiqh. The second thing that Greek logic discusses categorization. They discuss this, it's a very good thing, but they don't follow it logically. So that's why I criticize Greek logic so much. It doesn't mean that I disagree with everything. No, they say things, but they don't implement it. They don't apply it. They do same mistakes for which they criticize everybody else in the world. They do the same mistakes. Is it clear? The second thing in Greek logic is to know the categories of the things properly. That which category this belongs to. In science category, major category, like I mentioned, like women's hayd and nifas, which category it belongs to. If we make hayd and nifas in the category of the major impurity al-akbar, then certainly in janaba, people cannot read the Quran. Then in hayd and nifas, women cannot read the Quran. In janaba, you can't touch the Quran. In the hayd and nifas, you can't touch the Quran. In janaba, you cannot enter the mosque. In hayd and nifas, you can't enter the mosque. All those things, they will be applied. And the same thing will think about it. Though both things are so much different, but your mind never goes because people force you to think they are similar. The mind might become like, if people have made two different categories, then mind never went like that. So categorization actually are artificial, forcing it like magic. They force a mind to look at the things in a certain angle. That's what people do. The second thing in Greek logic is to know the categories of the things properly. Is it clear? The third thing is whenever you make a statement always have an argument, proof. No statement is valid unless it has proof. You make any statement, you need a proof. For every there is no statement acceptable unless it has got a proof. Whatever you say, anything you say, like for example, you say this hadith is sahih, bring the proof. For every statement, you need the proof. There is no statement which can be accepted without proof. Every statement is only valid if it has got proper proof. Without proof, no statement has any validity. And whoever makes a statement, doesn't matter. Statements always need proof. Every single statement needs a proof. Even this thing, people do not follow properly. Even Greek, I will show you really, there are so many statements Greek people make, they don't have any argument on the face of the earth. Never. But they make. If people follow this thing properly, we'll be safe from so many things. Simple thing is, people say, fard, wajib, sunnah. In Hanafi madhab, you have got three categories. Fard is something, which you are obligatory to do, and the evidence is qat'i. Wajib is something you have to obligatory to do, but evidence is not qat'i. That's wajib. Sunnah is that the Prophet ﷺ did or recommended more often, and very rarely he missed it. The sunnah muakkada, the sunnah ghair muakkada, all those things are there. Now you read the details under this category, things. When they mention, you follow them without knowing the proof. If somebody says sunnah is something like that, then your next question should be that, what the proof? So for example, in Hanafi madhab, you have got 4 rakat sunnah before Isha. What is the proof? Okay, you say sunnah is something the Prophet has been doing. To show where the Prophet did. There is no hadith in the world, sahih or da'if, that the Prophet ever did 4 rakah before Isha. There is no hadith in the world. It does not exist. But it is sunnah. No sound hadith, no da'if hadith on the face of the earth. The Prophet ever did 4 rakah. Then they say, Prophet used to do prayer before every prayer. But that's fine. Then say that. Then say before every prayer, there 2 rakah. That's fine. There's no harm there. But when you make 4 rakah sunnah ghair muakkada before Isha, you're putting a new category, new claim. This claim has another argument. This thing that if somebody says before every further prayer, there's sunnah. This is another claim. For this claim, you need a simple hadith. The Prophet, you say between every two adhan, there is prayer. Two adhan means adhan and iqama. That's fine. But when you say before Isha, pray the 4 rakah, not 2, 4 rakah sunnah ghair muakkada. This is a specific statement. It needs an argument which can prove it. There are proofs. So people need a proof. So whenever you make a statement, every statement must have a proof. Is it clear? So this important thing in Greek logic is that any statement people make in any science, in anything in this world, there must be proof. If people don't bring proof, don't accept. But tell me really, in this life, 24 hours, whenever you listen to the statement, do you ask proof? You follow them. I like the story. Asfahani, the author of Aghani, he wrote a story about one of the alim, At-Tabi. I didn't remember full name, Al-Tabi. He was sitting on the road and eating. In Islamic culture, you don't eat on the road. It's very bad. Noble people eat in the place of eating, like in the house or restaurant, but not on the road, where everybody can see. So his friend passed by him. I said to him, At-Tabi, you are eating on the road? How evil are you doing? How much evil? He said, don't worry. These people who see around, they're not people, they're cows. They're not people, they're cows. He said, I was shocked that he humiliated all the humanity. He said, if you don't understand, see what I'm going to do. Then he started giving a speech. Akhira, Qiyamah, this thing, Quranic verses, all the people got together. Huge crowd. He said, when the crowd became huge, then he said, this hadith has come to my knowledge that anybody who takes out his tongue and the tongue can reach to the nose, he will enter to paradise. Then all the people in the audience, they took out their tongue and started measuring it. He said, don't you see? They're cows. They're cows. I just said, they don't even think. I just say, this happened. You come to a mosque and Imam said this hadith and you come to it. You never ask him where the hadith is. What the proof is? Nothing. Once somebody asked me in one of the mosque, if I don't put on my topi, hat on the head, is it a privilege? I said, having a hat or not having does not make any thing the prayer. Your rewards are not decreased, nothing happened. Some people are not happy. They went to an alim from Bangladesh. They said, he said, it's not sunnah. He said, no, it is sunnah because the hadith in Tirmidhi. So the people came to me. So I said, okay, there's Tirmidhi here. Show me where hadith is. Now they don't know. So I said, okay, go. Imam is still there. Go and ask him. Until now, more than 20 years, nobody found any hadith in Tirmidhi. So this is how people say. Somebody saying the hadith in Tirmidhi. Somebody was saying to me, that Abu Lahab, every Monday, his reward, his punishment is decreased. Because the Prophet was born on Monday and he freed his slave girl out of happiness, the Prophet on Monday, so his rewards are decreased. I said, no, don't share these rubbish. The Quran says, La yukhafu anhu al-adhab. When adhab comes, adhab never lightened from any unbeliever. No, hadith in Bukhari. I said, where in Bukhari? Go and look really. People just keep telling lie to you. There's no hadith in Bukhari like that. It does not exist. You know what? In Bukhari is something else. But people keep telling you all these lies, and going on really all the time. People don't look at the proof properly. So the third thing that Greek logic actually emphasizes is don't accept any statement. No statement is valid unless it has a proof. It doesn't matter who says. It could be Abu Hanifa saying, Malik saying, anybody says. Then they are not proof. They need to bring the proof. If Prophet says, then fine. He's a proof. After Prophet, nobody's proof. They need to prove it. There are so many things in the society. Muslims and non-Muslims accept it as the truth. But if you ask them what is your proof, they don't have proof. Isn't it like that? Most things that people teach really, they don't have proof for that. So these are the some things that discuss in Greek logic. Greek logic is basically based on these three things. Everything comes, somehow connected to that. So the first thing is that you don't know any concept. The word concept is not right word, by any way that's what people use. It's actually more than that. So you don't know any individual thing, whether concept or non-concept, unless it is defined. Second thing they discuss is that you must know the categories of everything properly. Which category it belongs to. Because if you don't know the category, then you always have a wrong idea about the things all the time. That's how the people do mistakes in the book really. Sometimes they make a chapter in the book which nothing to do with that idea. Somehow they found some similarity and they push it there. So these types of writing are not academic. Because that actually, you think. It does not belong there. It actually belongs somewhere else, but you just push there. So people discuss things in wrong chapters. They bring wrong chapters in their book. It's all going on in the East and the West. Nothing to do with Muslims. Muslims, non-Muslims, both of them have same problems of categorization. They don't understand the categories of the things properly. The second important thing is that always learn category of everything, proper analyze it, make research, understand really, and then limit yourself to that idea. And the third thing is that no statement is valid unless it is proven. Unless you get evidence for that, proof for that. Proof has its own way in Greek logic. But anyway, we agree with that no statement is valid unless it is proven. Is it clear? This must be understood properly, because not understanding this has problem. Because sometimes what happens is you have been learning from your ancestors certain manners. When somebody asks you why it is important, you don't know. The only proof you have got, you have seen the people. It's not proof. What people do is not a proof. It is a culture. Culture is not to prove anything right or wrong. Proof is something else that people need to understand. So these are the three things that inshallah we're going to learn today in some more details. It depends how much time you've got. As I mentioned, people are born really with logic. Everybody, Allah gave people fitrah and mind. People used to think even before Greeks. And even after Greeks, people in every culture, Arabs, non-Arabs, everybody have thinking, they have an argument. Always people have making argument. People presentation, you look at Arab poetry, Jahiliyyah, they had no Greek knowledge, but very well organized. Arguments are very nice. Discussion is very good. Speeches. Hakim, there used to be hukama, wise people. Until now, you can appreciate really how they used to discuss things. So every culture used to have. But somehow, Greek philosophers, they forced themselves in the world. They pretended to be more scholarly than anybody else. So people followed them and they become, it's like magic. So when a magician comes and he proves that, this is not a rope, it is a snake, then everybody believes it is a snake and they run away, they fear. It's just a rope. They throw a rope and then they tell you it is a snake and then you think it is a snake. That's what you do. So these people were so powerful, they made all these things and everybody started following them. And they become the most dominant people in the world. So there have been many Greek philosophers. And the most important among them, no doubt actually, the one who called Aristotle in Arabic or Aristoteles. In English, you say Aristotle. He died in year 322 before Christ. 322 before Christ, that's why he died. Aristotle. So he is before Christ. No doubt really, we should respect him. He is a great man. Many, many useful things discovered. He is not like Plato. Ideal world. He basically more concerned about the world is seen, experiment, understanding, thinking, knowing things directly, direct research. So he has the credit of actually most sciences in the world, worldly sciences in the East and the West, they come from this man, Aristotle. Clever man, intelligent, super clever basically. Very, very clever person really. One of the most clever person on the face of the earth since the beginning. The way he discussed things, the way he makes argument, proves things. So the first person who really refined the Greek logic properly. There were logic before that, but he's the first person defined it, refined it, make it nicely, and put it together in some risala. He is Aristotle. Muslims are so much influenced by him. If you read actually books of many Muslims, sometimes they write with his name, قال أرسطاطاليس رحمه الله تعالى. He's kafir, not a Muslim, but his name is so sacred in Islamic Sciences. Sometimes, actually, I've seen some manuscripts they write like that. قال أرسطاطاليس رحمه الله تعالى. They actually, his name in Islamic philosophy is al-Muallim al-Awwal, the first teacher. The first teacher should be the Adam al-Islam, Nuh al-Islam is teacher, Ibrahim al-Islam, but no. Muslims write, not non-Muslims. Muslims write al-Muallim al-Awwal him. Aristotle is al-Muallim al-Awwal in Islamic books. Al-Muallim al-Awwal, the first teacher. Then there have been few other Greek philosophers. I don't, can see some of the names in my book, but I'm coming the one who is the most famous. That after that, actually, when Greek books were translated to Arabic, the first major Arab philosopher, thinker, man of the logic and all this been Abu Nasr al-Farabi. Abu Nasr al-Farabi, died in the 950 of Christian era, in 339 in according to Islamic calendar. Man from Bukhara. You can know really, Bukhara is a central place where all the caravans used to pass by, all the ideas they are exchanged. That's why Bukhara produced many of the great thinkers. This man Farabi from Bukhara, Ibn Sina is from there, then you see Imam Bukhari from there. You can imagine really why these people, great people come from Bukhara, because Bukhara is a very central place in the past, and it was ancient route really, where all the caravans from India, from China, from everywhere, they used to come and meet and discuss ideas that transfer. It's an important place. So Abu Nasr al-Farabi from there. He wrote many books. Really is a clever man, and he's called al-Muallim al-Thani, second teacher. So then after that comes Abu Ali ibn Sina, died in 1037 Christian era, and in Arabic calendar 428 of Hijrah. This man really changed the world, Islamic world. So powerful. Actually, he was just 30-year-old when he dictated. He did not write really his book. His student Juzdani said that one day we asked him that you are traveling all the time, sometime here, sometime there. Write down something. He said, I don't have books. I don't have anything to do. They said, but your knowledge will be best. At least dictate, we write. Then he dictated, what now we have got, the best book on the logic and philosophy, Kitab al-Shifa, al-Shifa from the memory. Not from library. He's a moving person. He's really super intelligent. Cannot imagine really. In Islam, this thinker, this level of the mind, when he reads his argument, in front of him, all Ashari, Maturidi, Mu'tazila, they look like children. When he criticizes them, they look like children. Amazing man. He is so powerful in argument, discussion. This man dictated the whole philosophy and logic just from mind. Everything was in mind. Really. He came in Bukhara, he got the access to the Royal Library of Bukhara. The court, the fort has got a big library. He went there and he read all the books. And then also he became excellent in physics and in medicine. So he wrote, another book, Al-Qanun in Tib. Nearly 1,000 years, or maybe a little less than that, these two books, Al-Shifa in logic and philosophy, and Al-Qanun in the medicine, they were the most best book in the whole world, in the East and West, for this study. Even in Oxford and Cambridge, until very recently, until 19th century, these are the two major was taught. Ibn Sina. He ruled the world. What Ghazali had done, Ghazali comes, he reads a book of Ibn Sina and summarizes it. Actually, something already Ibn Sina has summarized. Now, people think like Maqasid al-Falasifa. Many people think Ghazali has summarized, because Ghazali writes in the Muqaddimah that when he wanted to criticize Greek philosophy, the Hafiz al-Falasifa, so he realized he cannot criticize unless he teaches people what Greek philosophy is. So I wrote this book, Maqasid Falasifa, so people understand what philosophers think. Then they can read my refutation. When I was teaching Maqasid Philosophy in Oxford, so what I did, I used to compare it with Ibn Sina's Al-Shifa. I found examples of same. Definition is everything same. Nothing changed. Word by word same. But Shifa is very big. Maqasid summary. So I was thinking Ghazali just summarized Ibn Sina's Shifa in a small book. Then I found research really. Maqasid Falasifa itself is written by Ibn Sina. He summarized the whole thing in Persian language. Ghazali got the manuscript and translated. Now to prove it, now to everybody, you say, Ghazali got the manuscript and he just made it up. Ibn Sina wrote the summary in Persian language. Maqasid Falasifa. That's why people now find this mystery, because Maqasid Falasifa and the Hafiz Falasifa don't match. If you wrote Maqasid to refute it, it should match. What you refute does not exist here, and what exists here you don't refute. So there's no match, no matching. So it's very clear there are two different books. Maqasid written by someone else, this from someone else. So anyway, so maybe Ghazali has in mind, if he mentions Ibn Sina's name, nobody will read it. So he dropped his name. So people can read it from Ghazali, because Ibn Sina has bad name in many circles. Since it is Ghazali's book, people will read it. Maybe he has some good intention, we don't know. But what is proven is the book itself is not his. It's actually written by Ibn Sina himself. Ibn Sina, the books, People should read it. Amazing book. It will make you clever. Don't follow him. The problem with these people is, they're so powerful, you really become impressed by them. So if you read Ibn Sina, you will really, amazing thing. Amazing, really, so powerful. But he knows the limits. Once I was reading, I understood really how clever he understands the limits. So he asked, he said, if you ask me, what is 2 and 2? So I will say double of 1. Then you ask what is 1, I will say half of the 2. So, do you understand anything? So knowing 2 depends on 1, and knowing 1 depends on the 2. He knows really the limits of the human knowledge. He understands completely. We criticize this thing, but he is clever man. It's not he does not know. When Ibn Taymiyyah comes to criticize Greek logic, many things that he criticizes is not actually something secret. It is something Ibn Sina himself knew, that we have got limits. Our knowledge is not so perfect. He knows this thing. It is not that they are stupid people, but the problem is they follow certain discipline, so they want to defend it, they want to prove it. Ibn Taymiyyah has no respect for it, so he wants to demolish it. But Ibn Sina has to defend it because he respects it. So human knowledge has no limit. This they are know very clearly. But anyway, Ghazali is pious person, Sufi, and Madrasa somehow accepted Sufism, Tasawwuf. Ghazali became the most popular person in Madrasa curriculum. Then he's a summary of Greek logic, philosophy, all actually become. If people have been reading Ibn Sina, would have been much better really. Then you have direct access to the philosophy knowledge, much more pure knowledge. You actually learn Greek logic through eye of Imam Ghazali. That's why Ibn Rushd comes and he writes his book Tahafut, criticizing Ghazali, and makes very clear that Ghazali did not know any philosophy except Ibn Sina's works. And even that one he did not understand properly. So he criticized very heavily. And that Ibn Taymiyyah's criticism also, that Ghazali does not know any philosophy other than the books of Ibn Sina. The only thing got Ibn Sina's book. So Madrasa people become limited to summary of Ibn Sina's books by Ghazali. They never accept. Very few people in the world, in Muslim world, they used to read Ibn Sina. In India, the only last person who used to teach Ibn Sina the work is Maulana Fadl Haq Khairabadi. So in India, there are one important madrasa was Madrasa Khairabad. That madrasa was purely for logical philosophy. The last big person in the madrasa was Maulana Fadl Haq Khairabadi. And he used to play chess and teach logic, teach Shafa and Qanun both, while playing chess. Both things at the same time. And he used to say that after my death, Shafa and Qanun will become widows, meaning it, nobody will teach them. After he died, nobody taught these 2 books. Madrasa only learnt books of other people. If Shafa never have been taught. Shafa can make people clever. It is a clever book. But anyway, so summary of the matter is, after Ghazali, Madrasa curriculum did not have any direct access to Ibn Sina. It is through Imam Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala, his books became very popular. After Ghazali, the man who came to touch the subject again from freshly, Ibn Taymiyyah, died in the Christian era 1328 and Islamic calendar 728. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote his book Ar-Radd al-Mantiq, refutation of Greek people. He also written a detailed work to refute the philosophy itself, and actually he refutes philosophy all the time anyway. But this book is, proper refutation of Greek logic as a method of thinking. Very nicely done. While Halak has translated the summary, the book has been summarized by Arastu, by Suyuti, summary of Radd al-Mantiq. That summary has been translated to English by Wael Halak. It is good summary. He did nice work and he wrote good introduction. People should read it. It will help you to understand the problem of the Greek logic very clearly. Ibn Taymiyyah, the man who really understood properly all the weak point of Greek logic, understood so clearly, and then hit them and enjoyed. You hit and then enjoy. It is when really that there's no answer. He knew really there's no answer to these points. Not one hitting in second, third, fourth. On definition, I remember nearly 22 objections on definition. The Greek people say definition, so he attacks them 22 different ways. Or demolition. You have no way to defend their way of defining things. And this book, he really wrote. I'm impressed by when he said. He said, I was in Alexandria, and after Zohar, somebody came to me and started extracting about Greek philosophy and logic. He said, I already knew it is actually very stupid thing, but I never paid attention to write something. Then between Zohar and Asr, I wrote this thing, which later on people asked me to expand a little bit. Between Zohar and Asr, he wrote the main part of al-Mantiq. So powerful. People like Shibli in India, Shibli was the champion of Greek logic philosophy. Impressed by. When he read this, his mind changed. I written actually translated one of his work on Methemia, a small thing, but he has been, it's changed. Same thing, Maulana Sulaiman Nadwi. All these people are expert of logic and philosophy. When they read it, their mind changed. So some of those arguments, inshallah, I'll present maybe by the end of the day, if the time is there. But before that, we need to understand what exactly logic is. In this book, what I've done, because I wrote for the madrasa people, for the people to understand the definition properly, so I followed the way of logical, but generally easy to make it easier, to bring more examples, because Greek logic, people become so lazy, only example they have all the time is, al-insan, al-hayawan, natiq, just all, nothing, they don't know anything else really, they all the time keep doing. So I bring more, brought more and more examples, like from Nahu and Sarf, and also maybe from Hadith, to people understand really, these are things, they have meaning. That's insan, hayawan, natiq, same example. So Ta'rif al-Mantiq. There are so many definitions, just one of them, which actually make more sense. هو قانون يعصم العقل عن الخطأ في الفكر. You see how much the claim they make? It is قانون, means it is law, rules. If you know them, it protects the mind from doing mistake in thinking. Isn't it a big claim? If you know logic, what it means is, then you don't do mistake in thinking. Though really, the truth is, they are the one who was thinkers. But that was the claim. هو قانون يعصم العقل عن الخطأ في الفكر. It is قانون which protects the mind from mistake in the thinking. ويسمى أيضا الميزان. It is also called ميزان. Actually, Imam Ghazali used to say, in one of the book he writes in مقدمة المنطق, he said, من لا يحيط بها أي المقدمة المنطقية فلا ثقة بعلومه الصلاة. If people don't know mantiq, then we can't trust in their knowledge. We can't trust in them. That's how it becomes deep. If you don't know logic, then we can't trust anything that you say. You must know logic. So because that's how they define. They say it is basically, if قانون protects the mind from doing mistake in the thinking. ويسمى أيضا الميزان. Mizan is scale, which tells you, about wazn. So mizan is mizan al-aql, meaning it, what is true, what is false. Mizan. It weighs for you. It is like criteria for you. It also called mizan. Wal-fikr, what then? The word they use, قانون يعصم العقل عن الخطأ في الفكر. What fikr? والفكر ترتيب أمور معلومة لتؤدي إلى أمور مجهولة. What fikr means? Fikr means to put what you know in a right order, then it results to know what you did not know. Is it clear? That's how you learn. You know whatever you know, you put in a certain order, then it results to know something which you did not know. So for example, you say A equals B, you knew this, and you also knew B equals C. So when you put in this order, A equals B and B equals C, then what third thing you know? A equals C. Mathematical order, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So clear. That's what fikr means. Fikr meaning is that you put what you know in a certain order, then it will result to know what you did not know. That's fikr. That's how people think. That's how people, when people say, let me think. Sometimes you ask somebody and he said, let me think. What does it mean? Meaning is, then he using what he knows in order to solve this thing which he did not know. And it helps. That's how Allah has made. So people always reach from known to the unknown all the time. You know something and you don't know something. What you know helps you to know what you do not know. That's what fikr is. Fikr is this thinking that putting, but right order. People always do mistake in putting things in order. Sometimes people don't know the right order. So then the result will be wrong. You have to put things in right order, then it will result to know what you did not know. If you put in wrong order, then it will be more error, more problem. So people have to put in certain order. Is it clear? So that's why they say tartib. Tartib means right order. Murattab means putting things in the right order. So tartib umur ma'lumatin latuaddiya ila umur majhulatin. So it will result to know what you did not know. ويسمى أيضا النظر. So people also say nazar. Sometimes they say علم النظري. What means علم النظري? That knowledge which comes after thinking, after analyzing. They also use the word علم الضروري. Daruri is the knowledge which you know without thinking. It is so obvious to you. There's no need. If somebody says that 2 is bigger than 1, is there anything difficult to know it? 2 a number bigger than 1. Do you need to think? Do you need to prove it? No. It is so clear. So some things are very, very clear. But there are things which are not clear. Then you need to analyze them. So that al-ilmun nadari. Nadari is the knowledge which comes as a result of fikr. Putting things in the right order. If you put things in the right order, that's how successful people are. Many people don't know the art of presentation and writing. Many people don't understand. Do they fail? People who are clever, they know. Sometimes clever people with little argument make more impact than people who have more argument, but they don't know how to present it. Because that's how mind always flows from something to something. If you know really how the mind works and you're clever, you can make impact very quickly on the people. Because you know really this how people think. You start from those what they know, and then you lead what they did not know. Yeah, it's so logical. So understand. Many people are clever, they don't know this art. They don't know. In India, this was Maulana Maududi was more successful than any ulama. Not because he had best argument. No, sometimes the arguments are not so clever, but he knew how to write. He knew really exactly how to present ideas. So he knew how to start and how to move. That's why people read his books. Many modern people, the university students, they influenced by him because he knows how to influence. He knows exactly how the mind works. All his writings in this matter, they're equal, similar. People write something consistent, something inconsistent, something this way, that way, sometimes very high or level, sometimes lower. Maulana Maududi's books, all are same standard. Very cleverly done. He knows exactly how the mind works. This is one of the best examples of the good presentation. India really, even the people who are secular, non-secular, nobody has got this power. That's why one person alone, he fought all secular people. Those who come against him, anybody, they could not stand because he exactly knew how to present his argument. Many ulama who opposed him, they failed. Reason is maybe they have more knowledge, but they did not know this skill. This skill is a very, very important skill. That's why you need to learn it. It's important to know how to present. That's how the Western people very often succeed. Sometimes somebody in the West writes something on hadith. He does not know more hadith than our ulama in Deoband and somewhere else. But he knows how to present. He knows how the modern mind works. He brings those doubts, those are things which create problem. And then he succeeds. And you come to answer, you don't know this mind of the people, you fail. So it's not that you don't know the knowledge, you don't know how to present it. You have to know ideally how human mind works, how people think. You don't have this idea. This is very, very important. That's why Ibrahim is so successful. Ibrahim knew clearly how human mind works. Then for him, it was very easy to affect, to make impact. Very easy. All his arguments are based on that. When he smashed the idols, when he said, star, I don't love those set in disappear. All these are based on his understanding of human mind. That's why every time he says something, people have no argument. They become speechless. When the king said, I can bring life and death. And Ibrahim suddenly said, my Lord brings sun from the east. You bring from west. So he knew exactly how he thinks. This man thinks. He knew exactly that this man thinks this way. Just he made, and this is فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. That's what many people in the West learn really. The universities really, they don't teach people truth. No. This is a mistake if people think they learn, people learn in the university the truth. Truth is something else. But they learn really presentation. How people can present the ideas. That's what they're successful. They know how to influence you. Presentation is the most important thing in the teaching. That's actually what Greek logic is, presentation. Unfortunately, we ulama, Muslim ulama, don't understand the presentation. That's why they keep failing. That's why there's a big gap between them and between modern Muslim society. All the young people in India, they really are disconnected from the ulama. Or I was invited to Gujarat just last year because many women, they are Muslim women, they become murtad, they left Islam. So people wanted me to address them. I came there. I asked them. Actually, all of them say very clearly that ulama, we have no relation because the ulama don't come to us, and what they say, we don't understand. We don't understand their language. The big gap between them and ulama. The language they speak, nobody speaks. And the language that people speak, the ulama don't write. So tell me how this people will guide it. You need really this. This is very important to understand how human mind works, how they move from one thing to other, how they are convinced. So you have to bring those muqaddimat, those things which can lead to people. If you want to teach people, they must love Allah. You should know very clearly what makes people to love someone. If you don't know this thing, you never can make people to love Allah. If you understand what makes people love someone, then bring all that nice order. Then you don't need to say to them, love Allah. They will love Allah. Just you need to bring those things in right order. People don't do this thing. If you want people to become Muslim, Iman, it has at least certain portion in the mind. If you don't understand, it never can. Many Muslims preach that thing. The reason people don't believe in Islam because they think they can't prove God. If they can prove God, they will believe. No, you're wrong. Shaitan knows God. Is he a believer? Proving God is not something real. Something else is there. That a Quranic argument is different. We never make effort how human mind works. That's why good writers are those who know this thing properly. This art is very, very important to understand how the human mind works. That's why people like Ibn Sina or even Ibn Taymiyyah, they're so successful because they exactly understand how mind works. That when they write, they convince people, they influence people because they know how the mind works. Always. And that's why their writing can be lasting forever. Reason because they know human mind. We don't understand. So one important thing is al-Fiqh. فكر ترتيب أمور معلومة لتؤدي إلى أمور مجهولة. Put what you know in right order, not any order. Any order is wrong. When you go for the prayer, what do you do? Wudu and prayer. But if you change the order, prayer then wudu, what will happen? Is it prayer? If people pray first, then they do that. They say we do both. Will it going to have any impact? No. Wudu, then prayer. Then it impact on your heart and your mind. It makes near to Allah. If you pray and then do wudu, same time, you spend same time, but you basically lose all the result because you did not know the order. Right order always very, very important. That's why they emphasize, understand this word tartib. Tartib is a very, very important thing. Really. Organizing things in right order is a very, very important. That's why many women, they are very successful because they know exactly this thing. So you come to your house, you say to your wife, oh, house looks very new. You think I did not give any money to my wife. She did not buy anything. But it looks very new. What she did really, she's clever. She just moved your bed from where it used to be somewhere else. New order. The new order looks new look. That's all, nothing else. She did not spend any money. Just what she did really, just she changed the order. This always helps. All the time. Mind becomes tired. You just present same thing in new order. You know how mind works. Just you make a new order. Something becomes much better. All the time keep happening. Clever people, they use this very often. I tell you really, this I understand it. Most, if you attend the seminars in the universities, truth really is, they don't have much substance, but they exactly know their time, the space, how the people of the time think. They know how to manipulate the mind, how to present the thing. Tartib is a very, very important thing. You don't invent any knowledge. Same knowledge, but a new order, a right order. That's what they say. Tartib, that I'm saying. Greek logic is presentation. So don't be thinking that it helps you to know the truth. No, it doesn't help anything. It only helps you how to influence, how to impress people. Greek logic helps you how to impress people. After knowing logic, it does not mean you know the truth in the world. No, you could be kafir. Greek logic, a kafir can be expert of Greek logic, who does not know anything. But what Greek logic can help him to present things in a certain way which can influence the mind. That is an art we people don't learn. So ترتيب أمور معلومة. I can spend more time on that, but let's move so we have some more knowledge. ويمكن أن يعرف المنطق بأنه علم يبحث فيه عن قواعد التفكير الصحيح. Some people summarize it. منطق means the rules of correct thinking, right thinking, which فالمنطق للفكر كالنحو للغة. منطق does same thing for thoughts as the نحو does for the language. If you want to speak correct language, if you want to write in correct language, what do you need to do? Learn grammar. If you learn grammar, it will help you. What is marfu, what is mansub, what is majroor, غير منصرف, mabni, mu'rab, all those things. Then you write properly. If you don't know the nahu, you could do mistake. So same thing if you want to think rightly, the way is to learn Greek logic, it will help you to think. That's what they claim. Don't think that that's what I say. I don't say this thing. But that's what they say, that Greek logic is to help you correct thinking. So Greek logic is for the thoughts, same thing, word grammar for the language. Now they come to define undefinable things. Ta'riful ilm. What ilm means. Isn't really everybody knows ilm? Now see. There's so many definitions. Every definition has the objection. Every definition. If you read how they define knowledge, you become surprised. So much definition, clever people, but no single definition which is pure. They always keep themselves criticizing. Nobody else say. They're themselves criticizing everything. So I just accepted one of them. Basically, I know really it's impossible to bring any good definition. هو حصول صورة الشيء في العقل. What do you learn from that? Nothing really. But anyway, that's what they say. The form of something comes to your mind. So an ilm means coming of the form of something in the mind. So knowledge of the house came in the mind. That the form of the house came in the mind. Knowledge of the pen, your mind got the form of the mind, pen in the mind. So basically knowledge from the mind, simple matter. Whatever comes to the mind. Reality is already there anyway. So when reality becomes part of your mind, it becomes ilm, knowledge. To any reality, when it's reflected in your mind, that's your knowledge. Like Zaid exists all the time, but when you saw him, now you know him. So he was already there before you know him, but your knowledge means he became in your mind. So whenever form of something becomes your mind, it is your knowledge. That's what the thing knowledge. Is it clear? So things already exist. Like, star is already there. But when you learn about a star, then it becomes your knowledge. So realities always are there. But knowledge of the reality is when it becomes a part of your mind. It's reflected in your mind. So there's a husul surat al-sha'i fil aql. The knowledge people get it two types. Sometimes you get knowledge of the things without any judgment about it. Just I mentioned, like, pen. So it is one, another knowledge, the pen is good. It is, it is hukm. So when you get a knowledge of something without any hukm, that they call tasawwur. Tasawwur means from surah. When surah of the something comes to your mind, that is tasawwur. Perception. Concept is part of perception. So I think maybe one of the translations could be tasawwur, perception, to perceive something. And tasdeeq is when you make a judgment. So you said the pen is good. So this is judgment. So when you have full knowledge with a judgment, that is called tasdeeq. When you have incomplete knowledge, just surah of something in the mind without any judgment, good or bad or anything, that is tasawwur. So ilm is two types, tasawwur or tasdeeq. For example, when I said to your house, knowledge comes to your mind. When I said the house is good, it's another knowledge. Isn't it like that? To two different things. If I said to you Muhammad, son of Abdullah, son of Abdul Muttalib, do you get a knowledge? But when I say Muhammad is a messenger, it's a different knowledge. There are two different things. Muhammad, son of Abdullah, son of Abdul Muttalib is one knowledge. Muhammad, the messenger, another knowledge. That's where the Muslims keep confusing. Again, actually, very often you find Arab people praising Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But they did not praise him as a prophet. They praised him as Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. And you are confused. And you think on Monday he does not get any punishment. The one who he loved is someone else. He is not loving a messenger. When he became messenger, he hated him. He is one of the worst enemy. Reward of punishment is on Muhammad Rasulullah. If you believe, you get reward. If you don't believe, you get punishment. Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib has no reward, no punishment. It's like part of any society. So Abu Lahab is part of the same family. He loves it that, his brother got a son. He should be loved anyway. This love is nothing to do with the Muhammad Rasulullah. We keep doing mistake. Many Orientalists, They praise the Prophet ﷺ, and Muslims become very happy. You don't understand what they're praising, something else. They're not praising what you want. Like when you go to zoo and you see a monkey, you praise it. And then you see a donkey, you praise it. Then you see all the animals, you praise it. If somebody asks you, do you want to become donkey because you like donkey so much? What do you say? No, I'm a human being. I can't be like donkey. But why you praise? You praise on something. But it's not that means donkey is better than you. When they praise Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not as a messenger, about something. If you ask them, why don't you become like him? They say, no, we are superior to him. He's nothing. They don't think he's a prophet. Muslims always keep on misunderstanding what they praise, what they do. Anyway, hukm is very important. Tasdeeq. What really people say. You have a hukm in mind, and people, if somebody said to you, Muhammad was the best Arab, you become happy. Al-Baath party, Saddam Hussein's party, they used to say, Muhammad is the best Arab, and all those Al-Baath party, they're proud of him. And you think, oh, they're praising so much. No, they praise him as any human being. They're not praising him as the messenger of Allah. The big difference between them. So hukm is very important, tasdeeq. Is it clear? So knowledge is two types, tasawwur and tasdeeq. Tasawwur is when you have a knowledge without a hukm. Tasdeeq is when you know something with a hukm. And hukm is a very, very important thing. That's how people differ. Sometimes two people praise same thing, but complete two hukm. One by praising becomes mu'min, and one by praising becomes kafir. Same thing they praise, and one is kafir, one is mu'min. Why? Because two different tasdeeq, not same tasdeeq. Tasawwur may be same, but tasdeeq is different. They're two different tasdeeq. He is saying something else, you saying something else. Two different tasdeeq. To always understand really, not necessarily like Iblis also said, Ya Rabbi, oh my Lord. Isn't he say all the time, Rabbi, oh my Lord, give me Lord. If you say Rabbi, you get reward, isn't it? If I say Rabbi, do I get reward or not? I get reward. When Iblis said Rabbi, did he get any reward? Actually, he became far away from mercy of Allah. Same word by two different people, two different hukm, because they have two different tasdeeq. One has this tasdeeq, one has different tasdeeq. So tasdeeq also is very important.
Just firstly, which book of Ibn Sina were you recommending? Was it Qanun? The second question, Shaykh, in terms of the intiqad you made of the ta'rif of ilm, are they, for example, there's another definition. Is there any problem you see in this? Or I'm trying to understand how to critique the definitions, if you like. So there's a definition which says, إدراك الشيء على ما هو عليه إدراكا جازما هكذا للعلم. Does this work at all? So,
What's about the book of Ibn Sina?
I was just saying, is the book Qanun that you're...
No, it is Ash-Shifa.
Ash-Shifa.
It's an opposite name.
Okay,
for the medicine, he writes Qanun, and for the philosophy, he writes Shifa. Because Shifa means like curing the mind, to cure the mind. And he writes Al-Qanun. But Qanun is not so good. Though actually it's good. If you read a Qanun, I've been reading part of it. Sometimes same plant has two names. And discussion in both sections in the Qanun is different. So I realize the reason is because Ibn Sina has got this information from two different sources. In one source, this name one, and he followed that. He did not analyze himself. So there are many things left without analyzing in Qanun. But Shifa is a much better book. Much nice leader. What second? Yeah, because this is all the problem really is. Then how do you know it is knowledge? If you know things as it is, then it is big thing. Do people know things as they are? What does it mean really? Then if it does not as it is it knowledge or not? So there's so many discussions, not only that, even tasawwur, what surah you mean? What do you mean by surah? When people say some form of something come to your mind, what surah means? What surah means really? What form means? What is that thing? If you keep going deeper and deeper, you really don't know, do we know things or not? It's all like onion. It is just, one layer, second layer, third. What reality is, you don't know really. So it's a big problem in logic, that really what we know. Do we know things as they are, or we know something? What exactly what knowledge is? What do we know? How do we know? Where do we know? Tell me, I'm teaching you since the morning. So how do you know that I'm right? If you did not know before, now you're hearing from me first time, so how do you know really whether I'm teaching right or wrong? How do you know this? How your mind accept my arguments? It's a big problem. From very beginning, the problem. In Taymiyyah, one criticism I like very much. He criticized them. So he said until now, until his time, that no single thing they have defined properly. Every definition has a problem. And they say you can't know something unless it's defined And until now, you did not define anything. You don't know anything. That's what they say. They say you can't know something unless you define. And until now, you are not able to define anything. There's no thing, even human being is a most obvious thing human being. Even human being, they don't know how to define. So many definitions, all a problem. None of them are agreed upon. So even they don't know human being. They don't know anything.
Sheikh, you said people do not understand the categories of hadith properly and that they wrongly assume that da'if hadith are a type of hadith. But you also say that categories exist in the mind and are not objective. So how is it possible to have a right category and a wrong category on categories subjective?
Leave objective, subjective. Maybe I criticize that. I'm just trying to say is that things are not created with the categories. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make human being in the category of hayawan. Then no category existed. You make it this category is just in mind of the people. Categories can change. It depends what discussing. I'm trying to say that whenever you discuss about any point, first thing is really from which angle you look at that point. From that angle, which category it belongs to. If you understand properly, then more likely you'll be right. But what happens is people have certain idea of certainty to belong to certain category. Discussing a point which has nothing to do with the category, still keep bringing that. That's what creates more and more problem. So knowing there's no solid category. Categories keep changing because it is just in mind. It depends on how you look at the things. The total thing, human being, one angle could be animal. If you're discussing life, body, flesh, blood, yeah, it has similarity to the animals. But look from which angle looking. If you look from the angle of the Quran, responsibility, duty, amana, and all those things, then you can see really in that one he belongs to a category that actually is angels and jinn and human being. One category, a resurrection, another category. It depends which angle you look. Problem is people think angles are something solid. So all the time they keep applying same category in every discussion. That I said that, like for one obvious example is riba. In all the books of every madhab, one of the major mistakes they have done really not knowing the category of the riba. And that's why when they discuss about the Quran, they keep doing mistake. Not one mistake, many mistakes my mind. So this happens. Categories are not solid. It is mind, but it helps. When you make from mind something, it does not mean it is not real. Meaning basically is, it is something which is not as Allah created. But certainly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given people knowledge. Not every knowledge has been created. But the way mind works really is there are something. Okay, let me explain a different way. The reality in the world. This is one knowledge. I know you, I know this person, I know this person, I know this person. This is one basic knowledge. A knowledge more advanced than that is knowing the relation between two things. This relation is not created. This relation is understood. It is only mind. That's what actually basically people need to understand. That's what categories means. Categories means that relation, which is that reality, which does not exist externally, but it is there in the mind. That reality, it's another reality. So knowing the connection between two things, that is not fact. This is not something you can see, but it's fact in the mind. So categories belong to that reality, which is in the mind, but not externally. Externally, there is no relation between two people. Like somebody's father and son. Can you see it? No, it is in the mind. Somebody believer or unbeliever. Can you see it? It is category in the mind. All these categories are in the mind. That it is also knowledge, the truth, but it is something only in mind. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given people two knowledge. One knowledge is knowing the reality, and second thing is knowing the relation between realities. How they're connected together. Like for example, you know the ear, you know the nose, but how they're connected, how they make something together, how they agree, disagree, all those things, that's another knowledge. So that's what categories mean, to understand this connection, this relation, how something related. Like for example, major impurity. When you make janaba, hayd, and nifas all together, to knowing how these things are connected, that actually what categories it's in mind. It could be right, could be wrong. You can criticize, but it's all mind. It is not there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never said there's no relation between hayd and nifas. In reality, it is just in mind.
Sheikh, Jazakallah khair. I just wanted to ask a question about the books on Mantiq. We often hear a book called Isa Goji. That what does that date to, and do you recommend it?
Yeah, no, it is very early book actually. It is written by second person after Aristotle, what we say in Arabic language, for use. He was in Lebanon. So he is the one who wrote Isagogy. It is coming from him. Isagogy in Greek means madkhal. So that was the madkhal to the knowledge. And then it was translated to Arabic language by Uthman al-Dimashqi, and then summarized by Athiruddin al-Mufaddal ibn Umar Abhari. His book became more popular, Abhari's book, Isagogy. So now in madrasa, when they say Isagogy, it is actually translation and summary of by al-Abhari. Abhari's book became very popular. That's Isagogy.
Related to how we understand logic. So there was a major debate amongst the Greek commentators. Was logic a tool or was it a philosophy? And this debate seems to have manifested itself in the Islamic tradition, where Ghazali argues that it's a tool, whereas Ibn Taymiyyah seems to argue that it's philosophy. Now, considering, Sheikh, you've written a book on it, where do you stand on this debate? Do you think logic is a tool that can be taken away or distilled from its Greek systemization and codification, or is it a kind of philosophy which has a metaphysical baggage that cannot be detached as such?
It is both really. It is actually philosophy. When we develop this tool, it itself is philosophy. So both things are there. Both aspects in logic exist. When they make this rule, how they found out it's philosophy. But also, basically what they wanted to do is, for the philosophy, they wanted to get some rules which can help them to measure the idea of the philosophy, whether right or wrong. But when they developed the tool, that also was a result of philosophy, thinking. It does not exist anywhere. It is, the rule that they discovered, they invented, that was itself philosophy. So, the way Ibn Taymiyyah is criticizing it, because he had to criticize the logic as a philosophy, but, because they developed from philosophy. You want to criticize philosophically, these rules don't work. They are not right. What Imam Ghazali rahimahullah was doing really, he think, like grammar, helps for the people. If people know these things, it can help. But the problem really, these rules, if you look at their philosophical background, you can see how weak they are. They are not so strong like grammar. Grammar is based on very solid ground. That is istiqra. Istiqra is very, very important. Istiqra basically means they studied examples of the Arabic poetry, language, all they use it, and they found the common pattern. That's how people learn in this world. Istiqra. Greek logic is not based on istiqra. It is something actually. It is something else. What they call actually their own qiyas. They make kulliyat themselves. It is itself philosophy. Logic is tool to philosophy, but logic itself is a result of philosophy. It came as a result. That's why Ibn Taymiyyah had to demolish this philosophy itself. That in the way you invented itself is wrong, mistake. So it is tool to philosophy, but also invented as a philosophy.
In regards to categorization or the theory of category, how do you perceive Aristotle's category theory, where he talks about substances and accidents and qualities and so on and so forth, which is a specific form of categorization rather than how you elaborated in terms of the general sense?
In the sciences, when people make categories, anybody, Aristotle is one of the best person. No doubt, generally, for the purpose that they make categories, they're very successful, very good. No doubt about that. But I'm trying to say actually, sometimes in categorization, the problem happens the angle that they look at things. To Greek people, when they put the categories, they had their own angle. So, for example, for human being, when they make human being under the category of the hayawan, we don't deny that. It is very true, because for the purpose they want to do research. The human being that actually Greek, not only Greek, all the scientists, the human being that they study is basically dead human being. Dead human being, that's what they study. This dead human being belongs to the category of hayawan, animals. The insan that Allah SWT addressing in the Quran, that is the insan which has got a soul, mind, and heart. That's the main thing. This insan does not belong to that category. It's completely different from the human being. Does not have the same soul, does not have the mind, it has got mind, it has got heart. So certainly, sometime when the people have got a category, if you limit the category to the purpose, subject matter, what is discussing, that is fine. But when people generalize and make it solid, that a mistake comes. To my criticism, regard to many of these categories, they have made something solid and they keep extending it to every field, everywhere. That's where the problem comes. If people limit, for example, for the purpose of the medical treatment, human body and non-human body, they are similar. We keep them in the same category. You can understand. There are actually some similarity. But if people want to generalize it and they make really human all the time in the category of the animal, then the problem comes. So wherever you can see in the science, in the physics, biology, and all those things, and the poor categorization is very good. We don't have any problem with that in that limited area. What I'm saying is when people generalize it and apply it to somewhere else, then the problem comes.